Good morning, everybody. Sam here, live, United People's TV. It's Wednesday, the 27th of October. And I suppose we can all take a little step back and we can take a little bit of a breather after what has been an absolutely chaotic 48 hours. It really has been. You've witnessed it. I've witnessed it. You've been here on United People's TV with me on these live streams, having the discussions and seeing the fallout from that Liverpool game. We all knew that it was going to be a serious fallout from that Liverpool game. I don't think any of us sort of expected what has happened over these last 48 hours, because on Monday, we saw every single story from every single reliable journalist all pointing towards the fact that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was likely to be sacked, only for everything to completely do a full 180 on Tuesday, unexpectedly, and for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer now to be backed by the club. And he is going to be in charge of Manchester United against Tottenham Hotspur on Saturday. It's taken a lot of us by surprise after everything that's happened really in this season. One clean sheet in 20 games. It's not just that Liverpool game, but that Liverpool game was the last straw for a lot of people. For me, it was certainly the last straw, that humiliation against our bitter rivals. I want to explain in this video exactly what has happened, a sort of inside story, because it's really crucial for everyone to properly understand this, to understand exactly what has happened over the last 48 hours. Because for me, it's extremely important that we all understand it properly, rather than just looking at Manchester United are trying to and Ferguson are trying to protect Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I want to explain to you why that is not the case, why that is not what has happened, and what the situation truly is to this point. As always, I can see you in the comments here. Lots of you watching already. Lots of you will join in throughout this entire stream. Please fire in your comments, fire in your super chats as well, and I'll try and answer as many as I possibly can. I'll always answer the super chats, comments. There's sometimes too many for me to get, keep on top of. I can see here lots of you still wanting Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out, and look, I am with you in this camp. Okay, I'm not going to ever chase him with a pitchfork, and I think what is going on right now is massively, massively disrespectful to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But let me explain it all. All right, give me 5 minutes now to run through this whole story for you, and then we can have a proper discussion together, and then I'll head down to the comments. Now, if we rewind to Monday morning, this is from Fabrizio Romano. What I'm going to do is weave in Fabrizio Romano's tweets inside the stories that are coming out from the most reliable journalists I consider anyway in relation to this story. We've got James Ducker from The Telegraph, Jason Burt from The Telegraph, I believe. We've got Paul Hurst from The Times. We've got Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic. I'm not here looking at people from the Sun. I'm not here looking at people from the Daily Mail. As I said before, some of you might know, might not know. I'm a trained journalist. I'm not just doing this. Oh, I do love United. This has been my career that I've decided to choose. So I want to explain how this story has developed. Sam, you're the best, says Saif. No, I'm not, mate. You need to go and look at better things. Anyway, starting with Fabrizio on Monday morning, said that there was no meeting during the night with Manchester United's board. And remember how vociferous that fallout was on Sunday. Everybody was calling for his head. Thousands left Old Trafford. It seemed like his head was on the chopping block. It didn't really seem like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had any chance, really, of surviving as manager. That was the feeling going into Monday. So to see that from Fabrizio saying that no meeting was due during the night, we were a bit surprised. And then all of a sudden, everything changed a couple of hours later. Richard Arnold, who is Manchester United's managing director and is expected to fully replace Ed Woodward when he decides to finally piss off from the club, Richard Arnold cancelled all his appointments on Monday morning or Monday afternoon, and he set up a conversation with Joel Glazer. That was the first real indication from the club that we had seen that, okay, something is going to happen here. Something is happening, because that was an emergency meeting called as a consequence of what happened with Liverpool, with Solskjaer. For all of us, it was a real sign that it's heading towards him being sacked. And as the day progressed, we saw Samuel Luckhurst from the Manchester Evening News. He was discussing about Manchester United giving serious consideration to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer being sacked. Some took that and jumped on it and said, Solskjaer is going to be sacked. Solskjaer is sacked. Man United have sacked Solskjaer. They didn't. They jumped up way too early And clearly, after everything that's happened in the following 24 hours, that's proven to be the case. As I will always remind you on the United People's TV, it's not always just about being first with the biggest headline. It's about being accurate. And that is why I trust these sources and these sources of information. And I don't run with those ridiculous headlines. But then if we go towards how that evening unfolded, this is where it's crucial to start understanding how this story and narrative started to shift. Not shift towards Ole Gunnar Solskjaer staying, but it got deeper, in fact. On Monday night, it started to get really deep. We see James Ducker here from The Telegraph, and he wrote quite an extended piece here, Inside Manchester United's Dressing Room Unrest and Why Players Have Lost Faith in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. What I'm going to do here is run through the key points that he had to say in this article on Monday night. As I said, everything on Monday was gearing towards the fact that Solskjaer was going to be sacked. Go down here saying Solskjaer remains well liked on a personal level by the players, and there is none of the toxicity that marked the end of Jose Mourinho's reign, nor is he an unpopular figure among the squad like Louis van Gaal. And that's something that's always been maintained throughout all of this. Despite his deficiencies, despite his flaws, despite his weaknesses, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has never been a hated figure inside that squad. He's never been a hated figure inside Manchester United's board, even if there are plenty who have doubted him. And there are plenty who still doubt him, and correctly so. We go down here, read the next point. Solskjaer's tactical acumen, selections, reluctance to make big decisions, and indulgence of underperforming players and star names have all been called into question by United's players as the season unravels. So this is the first sort of indication we've got from James Ducker, from a reliable source, as I said, that the players are starting to, it's not like they're starting to turn. It's not going to be a mutiny, right? There's a big difference between players questioning things and players mutiny. And it's not that, but it's the first indication that we had, and that was on Monday night. And let's continue down into the story. It is understood that this is a mutiny. It is understood that Eric Bailly openly challenged Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in the aftermath of the 4-2 defeat to Leicester, when he reputedly asked the manager why he picked a centre-half that was not fit. And I stood by this at the time. I think I said it, even said it in my match reaction. What must Eric Bailly be thinking? It's like, you made me sign a new contract. I signed a new contract. Harry Maguire is not fit. He's like trained once after an injury, and you're going to start him over me? I'm not surprised that Eric Bailly spoke up there. And a lot of you be like, Sam, you can't trust these hacks. You can't trust these journalists. That they can't verify their information. The concept of being a journalist and with information like this is that you have to, you build up a reputation. You won't get information from sources if you reveal their name. It's the difficulty of being a journalist. So many people can easily just say, I'll prove it. And you can't give up the name of your source. You can't give up the name of how you got that information. But you build up a reputation over time. And James Ducker is somebody who I trust. If James Ducker is saying this from his sources, he's probably saying it with truth and with facts. You can choose to believe who you want to believe. Everyone's entitled to that. But I'm saying that James Ducker, I'd vouch for him. And that's, I suppose, important-ish. Bailly was one of several players. This is important as well. Bailly was one of several players to question some of Solskjaer's decisions during a frank exchange of views before the Atalanta game. One senior player is understood to have asked why Van der Beek was routinely passed over. Others question why Lingard was frozen out and Matic was used so sparingly, and that Solskjaer had the tendency to keep repeating the same mistakes and the favoritism shown to some. So as I said, this is all still on Monday night, okay? So it started in the morning with Fabrizio saying no meeting. And then it went to Richard Arnold cancelling all his meetings and speaking to Joel Glazer in an emergency meeting. And then in the evening, we've got James Ducker here saying, look, this is the dressing room unrest has begun. This is what is happening behind the scenes at Manchester United. And it really did not look good for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in any way, shape or form. You go down here, you won't find one player who doesn't like Ole on a personal level. He's a nice guy, but we're at a stage where players have lost trust in his tactics and lost trust in his selections. So we're seeing from this point onwards, we are really seeing that everybody's reporting that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has lost a lot of what he had inside that dressing room. And losing the dressing room, as we all know, is the beginning of the end for any manager. We saw it under Louis van... we did see it under Louis van Gaal. We heard about it under Louis van Gaal. Same thing happened to Moyes, and the same thing certainly happened with Jose Mourinho. With Mourinho, it was far more public and far more brutal, I think, than any other one. But with Solskjaer, on Monday night, as we saw, it had started. And we go down here. Solskjaer is thought to have responded to some of the questions thrown down by players urging him to trust him. He reiterated calls, yet the feeling in the dressing room was that Klopp had exposed Solskjaer's limitations and poor in-game management as United were taken apart. There was disbelief that United started with the same team against Liverpool that had been cut open defensively against Atalanta. So not only are we seeing players openly question Solskjaer's decisions in terms of your starting 11, we're having players question his tactics, question every single aspect of his management style. And again, this is on Monday night. We can go here and we can see, and then Simon Stone comes into it. Simon Stone from the BBC. Again, the BBC don't jump in with crappy headlines and jump into a story unless they have facts to back it up. And Simon Stone is one of them. And we scroll down here, saying the exact same thing on Monday night. BBC Sports understands that an increasing number of players are starting to lose faith in Solskjaer. They don't trust his tactics and feel he is out of his depth compared to some of the other bigger managers. And having reported on Manchester United, some people might laugh and point the finger and say, Sam, you're not a journalist, mate, because I'm part of a new era of journalists, a new age of journalists as well. Traditionally, journalists is like, I went and did my diploma, NCTJ, it's the national accreditation for journalists. And I had to learn shorthand at 95% accuracy. And if you've ever tried to learn shorthand, it's another language and it's goddamn impossible. It took me like 3 exams. I literally had to have a vodka at like 9 in the morning to settle my nerves to pass that exam. And it's a completely different language that you use in the courtroom. It's an old traditional style that's used inside journalists. But what we're seeing now is a new wave of journalists. And I'm part of it. I'm quite enjoying it, really. And that's why I like doing it. So thank you very much for helping me make United People's TV. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new. But the reason I would say it started to really get credible is because when you see multiple reliable journalists all reporting the same story from their own sources at the same time, it's when you can start piecing things together, because you might not believe one, but when 2 or 3 are saying the same thing at the same time, that's when it starts to manifest and it starts to become the truth. And that was all on Monday. And then we woke up on Tuesday morning and the U-turn was significant. The U-turn was absolutely, we used to U-turns at this club, but I did not expect a U-turn of this magnitude. This was from The Athletic, of course. And as I said, I do appreciate Laurie Whitwell and Adam Kraft and Andy Mitten on Tuesday morning. Bear in mind everything I've just explained there from what happened on Monday. On Tuesday, we're seeing Solskjaer has told he is safe for now, but Manchester United's squad is divided and confused. We go down here, and I've already ran through all of this with you yesterday in quite some detail, so I'm not going to do it in an exhaustive detail today. I'm just going to pick up the main points here. It was saying that the decision rests with Joel Glazer to sack him. Process is often slow and mundane for slow when it comes to mundane matters, let alone sacking a manager. So United are going to take a long time. Sources have said that players were confused by pre-match tactics and that Solskjaer was backed by the club and wasn't going to be sacked. Going down here, and it's further questions about Maguire, about Lingard, about Matic, the same thing again. Additionally, one source said that United do not play many small-sided games at Carrington. Even his training is getting called into question. As I said, every single aspect of Solskjaer as a manager being called into question by what we are seeing. And then we see James Ducker again. Now, this is yesterday morning at 10:45, supporting what The Athletic was saying. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is expected to remain in charge of Manchester United for now after crisis talks. Let's go down and see what James has to say. Solskjaer is expected to remain in charge for Spurs. Joel and Avram Glazer held emergency talks with Ed Woodward and Richard Arnold on Monday. So both Joel and Avram Glazer, he's got the worst hair in the world, genuinely looks like a drowned rat. They had conversations and meetings with both Woodward and Arnold. Now, a lot of you say, Sam, why is Woodward still in these conversations? I thought he was sacked. I thought he resigned. He has, until the end of the year. Now we're seeing reports that he may stay until April. I hope those reports are completely false. But at the same time, I'm not really sure Richard Arnold's going to come in and change anything significantly for Manchester United. So what we can see here is that the story on Monday night was that he's going to be sacked. And I did an article on Tuesday morning saying I really expected Solskjaer to be sacked on Tuesday because everything suggested to that point that he was going to, only for the club to make a dramatic turn on Tuesday morning. Senior sources at Old Trafford claimed on Monday night that there had been no change to Solskjaer's position, but accepted there was a lot to do to turn things around. Yeah, and I mean that's being polite, isn't it? So Man United, we've gone from a sacking from a sacking to a backing. Got that the wrong way around, didn't I? But that's what happened. And then on yesterday, look, and this is where the story really sort of the plot thickens, I think, if you want to call it. Mate, Manchester United are like a crappy episode of EastEnders right now, aren't they? Just cliffhangers, dramatic theme tunes. Honestly, we're a crappy soap opera. All we want to be is a well-run football club, winning titles, winning trophies. But instead, we're the soap opera of the Premier League, who other fans of other clubs can sit, watch, and be entertained by, and not entertained by the goddamn football that we're seeing on the pitch. So everything changed on Tuesday. And as the story developed on Tuesday, it kind of, as I said, the plot thickened a bit. Romano here saying that more talks were happening. Fergie wants to give Solskjaer another chance. And we know that Fergie still has influence inside Manchester United. Solskjaer completed his training session and Fergie turned up at Carrington. And I'll be honest, I thought it was I thought it was the mid-90s. Seeing stories of Sir Alex Ferguson and Martin Edwards, our former chairman, were at the training ground. I was like, huh? What are they doing there? And they were there to give their backing and support to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. As we continue to develop, the decision from Manchester United's board is now confirmed and approved that Solskjaer will be in charge for the Spurs game on Saturday. Ferguson supported him. Ole also spoke to the players. And that is what happened. And that is where we're at this particular moment in time. There's still quite a few things that I want to run through as well, because it's not the end of the story. But we've gone from everything being questioned about Solskjaer on Sunday night after the Liverpool game to everything pointing towards Solskjaer being sacked on Monday to everything on Tuesday morning taking a massive U-turn. The club deciding that they cannot replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer right now. And that is a key point of this whole thing here, which I will explain, to Fergie backing him, to Solskjaer now staying in his job and him being in charge of a divided and almost impossible to manage and control dressing room on Saturday. He's lost faith of at least some of those players inside that dressing room. Solskjaer, if he had a tough job before, these next three games, almost impossible for him to manage. And if we go on and we see how this continues to develop, we can see here from Paul Hurst, who I do trust as well, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to take charge of Manchester United, but his job remains under threat. Solskjaer took training, but he and his staff have not been given any assurances over their long-term future. It is understood they are worried that they will be sacked if the team performs poorly in the next three games, and they should be worried because they will be. And I don't even think these next three games have any sort of bearing on whether or not McKenna, Carrick, Phelan, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer are sacked by Manchester United. I'll explain that in a little bit, just after we run through a few more little things, as more stories and it continues to develop. From the Times last night, it is understood that Manchester United's players hit out at each other and the management during that clear the air talks after the game against Leicester. Solskjaer asked for opinions on what could be improved, and the squad did not hold back. One United player turned on Solskjaer and directly grilled him over why he was so reluctant to drop players who were performing poorly in matches. And you can't blame that player, because that's how a lot of us fans felt. A lot of us. That player claimed that Solskjaer and the staff were too resistant to reward fringe players who were training well. And we see again how the story continues to develop. This is Fabrizio Romano last night saying Manchester United's board were not 100% convinced with replacement targets for the manager. Fergie was keen protecting Solskjaer. The next three games will be observed. Now, I'll ask you in the comments here, who do you think that player was? If you were to have your guess as to who this player was here. My immediate guess would probably be that Eric Bailly was a man who sort of stood up and questioned, because I think he had probably, I know Donny van der Beek has a lot of right to be angry, but I really think that Bailly, after that Maguire decision, is somebody who really probably would have stood up for himself. And we go down here and see in the comments, I see a lot of you saying Paul Pogba. Quite a lot of you saying Bailly. A few of you saying Van der Beek. In my opinion, I think Donny was probably a little bit too meek to do that. Bruno, some of you are saying. Let's see. Raymond's coming up with a sweet lies this morning on Facebook. No lying. Come on, mate. Ole's not been given a new 4-year contract. He's just signed a 3-year contract in the summer. Let's not be crazy. But yeah, it all turned a bit tough. And this is a key thing here. This is something that's really key that I want you all to understand. And I swear I might do a video on this later today. I feel so firm on this that I don't think anyone's going to convince me otherwise. We can see here that Fabrizio Romano is reporting that Manchester United's board were not 100% convinced with the replacement and that Fergie was key in protecting Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I think here, I don't think Fergie's protected Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in any way, shape or form. And I don't really understand how Fergie can't see it. This is not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer being given 3 games to save his job. This is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, as it's been reported in certain parts of the press this morning, he's been given a stay of execution. I called it a public hanging. Some of you yesterday called it a death by 1,000 cuts. However you want to threaten that stuck in my head, whoever said that comment. So good comment. For me, these 3 games have no bearing on whether or not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to be sacked as Manchester United manager. Even if we win against Spurs, we win against Atalanta, and we win against Manchester City, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be replaced as Man United manager during the international break. All Manchester United are doing right now is using Solskjaer. I said it in my stream yesterday. I got quite angry about it. And yeah, it's because I don't think it's the right thing to do, but it's a consequence of a club that's run with incompetence at every single level. Manchester United did not have an alternative plan to Solskjaer. So now that plan Solskjaer is not working, they have nowhere to turn and they need time to figure it out. The only way they can do that is by allowing Solskjaer to stay in the job whilst behind the scenes, they work in finding his replacement. So this concept there that Fergie's been protecting Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to give him an opportunity, I don't see it like that whatsoever. And I'd be, well, obviously Fergie would see it that way and Solskjaer might see it that way, but I just don't see it that way at all. I think United have already made their mind up about Solskjaer, and the conversations right now are not about, let's see what goes on and let's see if he can do it against Spurs, Atalanta and City. The conversations now are, right, who's our next manager? Ollie Winton, as I showed you yesterday, the political comms correspondent for United fans with the club, he said the same thing. He said, for me right now, it doesn't feel like anything to do with whether or not Solskjaer can save his job in his next 3 games. It's simply a fact. This is a long and painful goodbye. Cicero saying, morning, Sam. Even if we beat the next 3 opponents, the fans already have lost their faith in Solskjaer. Yeah, I would agree in that. And Ian, look, yeah, you can call it that, right? You can probably call Solskjaer an interim manager now. I would go as far as to say that. I'm going to be so surprised, so surprised if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is in charge against Watford, even if we beat Spurs, Atalanta, and City. I think United are just using him as the shield for them, so that he gets all the score no matter what happens there, and also so that whoever comes in next doesn't get, I suppose, stung by these next 3 games, because we've got Spurs, Atalanta, and City, and it would have been tough for Manchester United's new manager, whoever comes in, to win those 3 games, and it would have been a bad start. Whereas, given the international break, give it time for someone to come in, and then come in against Watford, it's certainly an easy start. Look, Kratio, you're saying we won't beat City. Look, I don't think we're going to beat City. I think we're going to struggle in all 3 games. We saw how good Atalanta were in that first half against us, and then the crowd played a huge role there. It's going to be away from home. If we play like we did in that first game, Atalanta are going to be 2-0 up again at half-time, and we will not be coming back with 3 goals in the second half. Nick, how you doing, buddy? Nice to see you this morning. A captain is supposed to lead by example. Ours is a centre-back who managed to scrape 1 clean sheet in 20 games with 0 coaching and leadership. Do we need a new skipper? You let me know what you think about that in the comments, ladies and gents. I personally don't think that Maguire should be replaced as captain. No, I think last year Maguire was better than most people gave him credit for. I think during the Euros, Maguire showed he genuinely has world-class capabilities. But I think Maguire, and Shaw as well, both of them have got some mega Euros hangover that they haven't got over. And I'm not seeing enough from any player in this Manchester United squad, really, for me to point my finger at one individual and scorn them more than the others. So that's why I wouldn't really say anything about that. I can see a couple of comments here coming in about a certain story coming out, and let me see if it's completely true, because it may well be, and it's exactly why I did not put it up. And let's see. There we go. And this is exactly what I'm saying about, ladies and gentlemen. I said to you throughout this video, I said it's important who you trust. It's important about what you see and what you read. And that's why I bring you stories from James Ducker, from Laurie Whitwell, from Simon Stone, from the BBC, the Telegraph, the Athletic. It's important who you look at and who you speak to, because, you know, if you want to, you can go to the Sun and you can see stories about how Paul Pogba snubbed Solskjaer after the game against Liverpool. And then Paul Pogba will come out this morning and say big lies to make headlines. And I imagine there's probably people yesterday who've done videos. I mean, I know there's people. I don't know why I'm doing indirects anymore. Last night on the United stand, Pogba and Solskjaer, Pogba's Pogba, blah, 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 blah. It's not. It's not the case. It's important to not feed the fans false information, because it causes division. And the fan channels are always sort of, I'm slapped in this concept of fan channels because I'm a fan of Manchester United and I run a channel. Therefore, I'm a fan channel. I understand that. But I'm not here to ever cause division. And just running with stories from the Sun and places like that, that's where division is caused. That's where division is caused here. And Pogba here coming out, big lies to make headlines. He said it's completely fake news. And yeah, it makes me angry. It makes me angry that this sort of division is struck among United fans when we should all be getting together, and we all want the same goddamn thing. All right. And I know a lot of you have got anger towards Paul Pogba. I understand that. Right. Cool. It's fair enough. But that's bullshit what was said yesterday. Pogba's come out this morning and he felt so obliged by it that he's had to come out and say it's fake news. And it annoys me because reputations of everybody get dragged down in the mud when certain people and certain individuals say certain things without verifying. And that's, as I said, I'm a trained journalist. I understand the concept of sources. I'm sure you all do as well. You know which outlets are, we've got tier 1, we've got tier 2. But look, Gary D, you're saying the media has this witch hunt on Ole since he started. They absolutely do, and they always will. And remember this, that it's Manchester United. We will always be witch hunted far stronger by comparison of other football clubs inside the media. It's what happens. We won everything for 20 years in the Premier League, ladies and gents. We should expect to get hunted further. All right? That is what it is. It comes with the territory of being Manchester United. The pressures are different at United. Expect more media scrutiny. Expect more fake stories to come out because you're a Manchester United player. It comes with the territory, right? And we all know that by now. Let me go down here and see what's going on in the comments. There are a lot of angry people in the comments. I'll be honest, I'm pretty angry after what's happened in the last 48 hours, man. Watching everything unfold. Look, man, managers fail. Managers get sacked. Managers get replaced. It is what it is. It's part of modern football. Not modern football. It's part of football. There is some successes and there are some failures. And with Manchester United, it's more the fact that, look, as I said, expect there to be more intense scrutiny, pressure, criticism on anything to do with Manchester United, from the players to the manager to the board, every single level. But what I've seen in the last 48 hours, and I didn't need to see another example of it. I swear to God, I didn't want to either. The incompetence that exists inside the structures of our club are truly seismic. And if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is accused of not having a plan B on the pitch with his tactics, then we're looking here with these stories, with everything that's going on with Manchester United. It just makes me angry. As I said, it makes me angry. And what you're saying there, the hypocrisy of the media is disgusting, frankly. They still laud Lampard despite his abysmal performance because he's English, a former darling of the England team. And it is what it is, man. The media is the media. And as I said, me here on United People's TV, I suppose I'm part of a new age of media, and we can as fans together, there's literally thousands of you watching here today, and we can have a discussion properly about Manchester United, getting actual fan opinions in, and I'm genuinely getting fan opinions in. And I hope I sort of you feel like I've stood by what I've said about making this a community channel. I really do enjoy the interaction, the community, the questions, the opinions. Yeah, and it's nice. Shame that the board are not as nice. And it comes down to an experience. I might do a video on it, actually. I don't know what I'm going to do my video on today. You can let me know in the comments. What would you like me to do my video on today? Throw your suggestions in the comments, and throw it on. As always, my DMs are always open. Quite a few of you keep messaging me every single day. Let's have a look. Anuj saying, right now, the way United are going, every team would love to play against us. They'd have the confidence to take 3 points from us, and mate, that kind of is what it is. I mean, that's been the case for a long time, Anuj. Adrian, what you're saying, now you're talking. The club is in a shambles right now. They're scared of appointing anyone who would hold them accountable. And that is something that I suppose you can't really disagree with. You've got Antonio Conte, who's been heavily linked with the job. Now, you can let me know what you think about Antonio Conte in the comments. I'm definitely going to be doing videos on Conte because we have to look at him. We have to discuss him. As I said, when I did my video, was it yesterday, day before? I did my video on looking at possible replacements for Solskjaer. I said, look, the club might not be planning for life post Solskjaer, but they should be. And we should be having a discussion here today about the targets that we could be looking at. And I took a look at Conte. I took a look at Zidane, and I took a look at Erik ten Hag. The 3 options I considered not the most likely, but obviously Conte and Zidane both out of a job. They are the 2 main options that we've got, and ten Hag was probably a bit of a preferred choice by me in terms of what I would love to see. But we need to have more conversations about Conte. He's being installed as a heavy favourite. He's the only manager who's really being linked with the job. Zidane is being distanced from it, and Erik ten Hag is doing a very good job at Ajax in his mid-season. If we're looking at how difficult it would be to sign a manager, and here is the thing, right? This is the thing with Solskjaer. If the club board was not so divided on Conte, I swear to God, he would already be our manager. Solskjaer would have already been sacked and Conte would have already been appointed, or it would happen the next day or so. Instead, the club is divided on Conte because they're fearful that a Mourinho situation will repeat itself, where the board was semi-undermined, where they lost a bit of their power because of the autonomy that Mourinho demanded. Conte would demand that level of autonomy, and you can understand Manchester United's trepidation towards getting Conte in. But at the same time, you can't argue with his CV, his record, his experience, his ability to improve teams, his ability to win titles in both England and Italy. And I'm actually looking to do a collab with Italian Football TV to speak to them directly about Conte. Find out what happened last year at Inter. Last 2 seasons. The 2 seasons that Conte had at Inter, the ins and outs and the inside story from what the fans feel to what actually happened towards his downfall. Because I don't think you can, as much as I say that Conte doesn't fit what I've got in my head would fit this Manchester United team as a new manager. And the reason I say that is because we're looking at a completely different formation with a completely different set of characteristics for the players. A lot of these players would happen. We've got a fantastic squad. There's no saying that we couldn't do it. But playing with the full backs, playing with 3 centre-backs, we've hardly got 2 centre-backs at the moment, Jesus Christ. We haven't got that holding midfielder. Brozovic, obviously, on a free and available on a free from Inter Milan. So you would imagine if Conte came in that he would follow. So Conte, there's going to be plenty of Conte content on this channel because we have to have these conversations. We have to look at, I can't just say here that Conte wouldn't be the right manager for Manchester United and not look at him and not take a look at him from every angle, because it wouldn't be right of me. That would just be my opinion without basing it on facts and stats. And therefore, I'm going to do that at some point soon. So don't worry about that. Let me go down to the comments here and see what you're saying. Mo, you're saying Conte was angry with Inter because they sold all the players. Obviously, they sold Lukaku. They sold Hakimi too. They sold a lot of players. Inter, they definitely tried to make some money, and he didn't want to stay there. But the conclusion, not the conclusion, but what I'm trying to get at with this video is I've showed you what happened from sacking to backing to the situation that unfolded. And the reason it unfolded is because United's board are not settled on a replacement. They don't know who they want. They're as divided on Solskjaer as they are divided with Conte. They're divided about the manager they currently have. They're divided about the manager who they could get in to replace him. And therefore, that's why Solskjaer hasn't been sacked. It's not because he's been protected. It's not because he's been given 3 games to save his job. No matter what you read, that's not the truth. That's not the real truth, in my opinion. And of course, that's an opinion. And of course, I might be wrong. Maybe the club really are protecting Solskjaer. Maybe the club really are giving him another 3 games to save his job. I just do not particularly feel that is the truth. From what I've seen, from what I've read, from everything that's unfolded in the last few days, it's simply down to Manchester United's board protecting themselves and using Solskjaer as the shield to give them time to find a replacement, because they can't decide on Conte and whether he's the right manager or not. Zidane doesn't want the job. Erik ten Hag is in a job. And if it is Erik ten Hag you have to lure him away from Ajax. That's a very difficult thing to do mid-season. Brendan Rodgers is another name that's being linked. And I can understand parts of it. Yeah, I can. Even if I disagree with parts of it too. And then you've got to lure him away from Leicester. Pochettino, apparently still got a lot of credit inside the Manchester United board, but then you've got to try and get him away from PSG when they've just signed Messi and they've got Neymar, and they've got Ramos, and they've got Donnarumma. Pochettino's going nowhere. So what we're looking at here, Manchester United over the years. Oh, look, Paula, nice to see you this morning. Welcome aboard as a member of the channel. I'd love to know where you're watching from, Paula. I'll try and give you a shout out, and make sure you fire in your comments, Paula, because as a member, as always, you get your priority comment, your comments read out as a priority, as you always do. Or you're saying Ralph Ragnick to come in as a caretaker till the end of the season, then we bring in Ten Hag. Ralph becomes director of football. Donny plays and everyone is happy. Well, it's so simple. It's so simple. Well, it's so simple. And yeah, you can easily see a caretaker coming into the end of the season. But with Ten Hag, as I've sort of maintained all along, I think Ten Hag to Barcelona is far more likely than Ten Hag to Manchester United. Barcelona are desperate for a rebuild. Barcelona are desperate for a manager of Ten Hag's quality to come in and bring them into a new era, I suppose, post everything that's happened with Messi. And for me, I think Ten Hag will probably want that more. Because Ten Hag, if he leaves Ajax, he's got 2 choices: rebuild Barcelona or rebuild Manchester. Not rebuild Manchester United. I suppose we're at the point now where if we bring somebody in like Ten Hag, it's not really a rebuild. It's let's go. Let's go. Let's get in the car. Let's put the seatbelts on. Let's drive ASAP Rocky and let's go and win these titles. With Ten Hag at Barcelona, he's probably a couple of seasons away from that. It's not to say that Barcelona squad's not quality, but we're looking at Manchester United and Barcelona. We have the capability right now of, if the right manager comes in and takes control of this squad, we can compete immediately. Immediately in the Champions League, immediately in the Premier League. With Barcelona, I think they're a little bit off that. What would you make of Potter as manager, says Rory? Now, nobody can deny that Graham Potter has done a fantastic job at Brighton, right? Nobody will deny that. But would Manchester United take that risk? After everything, I don't know. I mean, every single manager, no matter whether it's Graham Potter, no matter whether it's Antonio Conte, Zinedine Zidane, Ten Hag is probably the one who comes in with the least questions, I would say. If Ten Hag came in, I would argue he would give more of a guaranteed success than anybody else. Actually, no, Conte would probably give that guarantee of success. But in terms of the whole package, I think there will be less questions about Ten Hag than there would be about any other manager. If you're looking at Graham Potter, the questions there are obvious. Can he do it at Manchester United? Can he cope with a step up to big management? Is he just is he better as a big fish in a small pond rather than a small fish in a big pond? X, Y, Z. Same sort of questions that were banded around David Moyes, and we know what happened with David Moyes. Then you've got Antonio Conte. Is his abrasive style going to be more like Mourinho? Would he jar with Manchester United fans? What about his defensive style that he drops into a 5-3-2 without the ball? Is that going to be what Man United fans want? We want to attack. It's the United way. Questions. Zinedine Zidane. He was fantastic around Madrid, but, was he just there at the right time with the right set of players? And obviously any manager would have won with Ramos, Ronaldo, Bale, Benzema, Kroos and Modric, Varane in their team. Zinedine Zidane, I'm not sure whether he cut it at Manchester United. Maybe he was just there at the right time with Real Madrid. Blah, blah, blah. Questions. You get my point here. Whoever comes in, there are going to be questions about every single manager. And that's the situation that Manchester United find themselves in. And it's the situation because our board is so goddamn indecisive, they can't ask these questions to each other and go, you know what? This is the best option. There's no, if we're looking about indecision at Manchester United's football level on the pitch with Solskjaer and the indecisions that we see in the dugout with Solskjaer, with McKenna, with Carrick and Phelan, that same indecision exists at the whole board level. And that level of acceptance, I suppose, of mediocre management is a virus that's spread throughout every level of our club. Every tier of our football club is run by people who cannot make a decision. Look, I'm not talking about correct decisions, although, it does help if you make the bloody correct decisions. I'm talking about just decisions themselves. At every level in Manchester United's football club, we have people in charge who simply cannot make a decision. They cannot back themselves. And they've done it now. And with Solskjaer, even when they do make a decision, they become so stubborn and blinded by it, they can't admit mistakes. Look, man, I've publicly came out. I had to do an apology video I remember Tamara and Fellaini, poor guy. I did an apology video to Solskjaer a while ago as well, saying, look, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong. But Manchester United's board seems so stubborn, so they don't want their ego bruised. They want to be proven correct, so much so that they're putting that ahead of Manchester United's best interests as a football club. Nick, what are you saying, sir? It's a difficult one. Neither Conte nor Zidane seems to be the ideal manager, but waiting for a better manager to become available is a mad gamble since it's October. Hey, look, and this is a big problem in Manchester United and getting managers in, because if you look over the last few years, we've got, I don't know, you've got Nagelsmann, you've got Klopp, Guardiola. I don't really think you can pull that into question because he was always going City at that point. They made a whole club for him that he came into. But at the times when Pochettino as well, at the times when considered top managers have been available, Manchester United haven't moved for it. Manchester United have missed out on these managers. It's like Liverpool got rid of Brendan Rodgers to really sort of bring Jurgen Klopp in because they saw that as the opportunity and the step towards where they want to be. And if Manchester United right now were to make a complete decision inside that boardroom saying, we want Erik ten Hag as our manager and we will do everything to get him. If we're willing to pay Jose Mourinho 20 million to get out of our club, we should be willing to pay at least 20 million to get someone like Erik ten Hag into our club. Now, the problem with ten Hag there, which I've just seen in the comments there, and I think is completely right, says Rory, that's why I don't know if ten Hag will be a success. Ajax's entire hierarchy works towards everything, towards success on the pitch. He wouldn't have that here. And I do think he would struggle if he didn't. Obviously, ten Hag would bring all of his staff with him. That's the standard. But you're right. It's talking about the level above. There needs to be unity between what happens at board level and what happens on the pitch. There has to be, the visions have to be genuinely aligned, and they never have been at Manchester United. I'm not sure they ever will be. And it means that whoever comes into this, it's almost like the Glazers are the biggest problem at Manchester United. And it's almost like whoever comes in will ultimately suffer similar issues and problems that every single manager post-Fergie has faced, and Fergie has faced, all right? And I've said that before. That's why Fergie was such a genius, that he somehow managed to sustain success under the Glazers. It was in spite of the Glazers. It wasn't because of them. It was in spite of all the problems and the limitations that they put on him, and they restricted spending on Fergie at the time when City was coming through with money galore. And he still managed to succeed to a point. I'll head down to the comments here in a second. I can see a lot of you suggesting that I look at Pogba's Instagram, and I'm going to presume that's to do with the tweet that I've actually just run through there. Let me see if he's actually gone into a bit more depth on Instagram. Let's have a look here. No, it's not there. It's on, I think you mean Twitter, mate. Anyway. Oh, no, maybe it's on his story. Fake news. What was he said? There you go. Right. Let me see if I can pull that up for you. 1 second there. Right. Right. There we go. Goddamn Instagram stories. They move too fast. Right. Let's pull this up. This is what Paul Pogba had to say when he went into a bit more detail about that fake story from The Sun yesterday. This is what he said. Fake news. The tabloid press once again wants to create polemic with 100% fake news. Ah, what are you doing there? God damn. Big lies to make headlines. Journalists who use my name to be seen when there is nothing to see. The only reason I address this bullshit is out of respect to my coach, club, and fans to send a clear message. The less you read these people, the better you are. They have no shame and they will say just anything with no basis at all. Paul Pogba's being firm there, man. That's what I said. Be careful who you read and who you trust. You have to be selective, people. In this world of social media, in the world of the immediacy of news, in the world of headlines being everything and the story being sometimes second in importance to the to what's going on, Paul Pogba there is calling it out, and it's important that people listen to him. It's important that you understand who you can really trust, because you can't trust everyone. All right, you cannot trust everyone. And Paul doing that, fair enough, Paul. I appreciate that. People are there going, Paul Pogba's a virus. Look. Paul Pogba, I'm not putting scorn towards any individual player at the moment. I'm not putting any more towards Paul Pogba than I'm putting towards Luke Shaw, that I'm putting towards Mason Greenwood or Bruno Fernandes. Manchester United right now, the players are all symptomatic of the problems that exist at the club. It's what I've always said with players. And it's if you've got new players, if you've got a new manager in, what would happen? Those same players who were problems would be like, they'd be released in the same way that in the 3 months post Mourinho, when we looked down and out. Then Mourinho went and Solskjaer came in. We looked alive and up. Let's go down here and let's see what's going on in the comments. As I always say, look, please fire in your comments. It's not just comments you fire in questions. Fire in make things to make you think. That's what I would encourage here on United People's TV. Harsh, what are you saying? Nice to see you, mate. This is a complete joke. Emotions are necessary in the game, but they aren't needed to be followed as a foundation for success. I think you're probably there talking about Fergie? I'm not really sure what you mean there, mate. Sorry about that. Sridget, I haven't seen you in a while, Sridget. Nice to see you, buddy. Mate, I respect Solskjaer as a player, but hiring him as a manager is the biggest mistake in the history of this club. He is not a coach and never will be. We missed out on Pep, Klopp when they were available. I don't blame Ole. Glazers are the root cause. Right, let's pull apart that comment. Hiring him was the best success story that we've had post Fergie. Not the biggest mistake we've made in history. If we're looking at the biggest mistake we've made in history in terms of managers, you're probably looking at David Moyes. That was the biggest mistake. So to go and say Solskjaer's the biggest mistake, I think is massive hyperbole, massive exaggeration as to what the truth really is. Sure, right now he's definitely down and out. But to say he's the biggest mistake, that's we're going way over the top. Yeah, and we have missed out on Pep. We missed out on Klopp. We missed out on plenty of top-level managers. And the Glazers are the root cause, and I will not disagree with that. But that is why Manchester United are in this position. We don't know who to get in. We know that what we have isn't what we need, but we don't know who we can get to replace him. That's the situation we're at. And I swear, just if there's going to be one thing I would say to take away from this live stream today, it's that Solskjaer is going to be sacked after City, no matter what happens in the next 3 games. And I'll be surprised. I'm going to be very surprised if I'm proven wrong. I don't think I will be. I think what we're seeing now is a long goodbye for Solskjaer. And genuinely, I hope to God that the players rally. The players give Solskjaer a send-off. That's why I'm looking at these 3 games as a goodbye for Solskjaer. And I hope that they get behind him and they give him the send-off that he deserves for the good work he has done to our football club in these 2-3 years that he's been here. And that we beat Spurs, we beat Atalanta, and we beat City, and he gets a perfect send-off. Because I don't think it changes. I don't think the situation with Solskjaer in his future changes according to the results of these 3 games. It's as simple as that. Harsh, you're saying that I'm talking about everything that's happened the past 2 days. I've not watched Marcelo Gallardo, so I'm not going to comment on him at all. Paula, you're saying you don't think I'm wrong. Nice to see you, Paula. It's your first message that you've been up. Nice to see you as a member. If you'd like to join Paula and become part of the United People's TV family, I'd love to have you on board. As I said, members get their comments read out as a priority. You get access to a members-only WhatsApp group. There's plenty of stuff behind the scenes too. I'm going to start doing members-only content at some point very soon as well, and on Facebook too. Don't worry, Facebook, you've got a lot of stuff coming. So if you're a member on Facebook, it's going to get exciting over the next few weeks. I've got lots of giveaways to do. So trust me, you want to be following United People's TV. You want to be a supporter of United People's TV, whether that's just by being on the channel, dropping a like on the video, or becoming a member of the family. You're all welcome and you're all part of it. Martin saying, do you honestly think they can win the next 3 games? Let me know in the comments below. What do you expect the results of the next 3 games? Honestly, try and think about it before you type it in. What do you honestly think United's results are going to be in the next 3 games against Spurs, against Atalanta, and against City? Type it down in the comments below. I swear to God, I wouldn't rule it out. I keep saying that you just can't rule these things out. And with Solskjaer, I said that, and then obviously famous last words because of what happened against Leicester in the first half against Atalanta, and then we turned it around, and then Liverpool. I don't think it's impossible, and it depends what the message I believe in is in that dressing room. If Solskjaer is going into that dressing room and he's doing it and saying, "Oh, let's go, lads. You know, we can do it. We can turn this around. We can't get any lower than this." I think we probably will continue down that path. But if Solskjaer goes, and obviously he won't go in there and sort of say, "Look, lads, I'm going to get sacked anyway, so do it for me." But if the players have that attitude and they can see it as well, then I think we could turn it around in these next 3 games. Comment flying in here from Harsh saying, City would embarrass us. Look at City midfield and attack. They will have a walk in the park. And it will hurt more. It won't hurt more than Liverpool. Nothing will hurt more than that Liverpool game. Sridhar, what you're saying, sir, it is because where are the trophies, mate? Where is the game plan? Where is the coaching? I'm going to completely and utterly disagree with you. What you're looking at is simply what's happening on the football pitch. And in that sense, what Manchester United are doing right now is abysmal, of course. I don't look at Solskjaer and simply look at the football. Solskjaer is the only manager who has come into our club and done a lot more behind the scenes than anything else that Van Gaal and Mourinho did. Van Gaal came in and so, look, he's playing youth. He's playing these. He's improving the youth. Van Gaal gave like 20, 30. He gave so many first-team debuts to players who just disappeared out of the club. Vamos. McNair, Blackett, Love, 3 off the top of my head. I don't know who else he did, but plenty more. Solskjaer is the first person who's come into our club and actually put the club's best interests first rather than his own personal ego. And that's, for me, has made quite a difference to the culture of this club, which was absolutely... It disappeared beyond the existence before Solskjaer came in. It's still got a long way to go to get back to where we wanted, that culture of winning. That's what we're missing. But the foundations for it have been set by Solskjaer. Let's go down here and see what you're thinking about these next 3 games, eh? Let's see what you think. Honestly, there's so many comments coming in here. I appreciate how interactive and engaged this community is. It really makes a big difference. And that's why I'm saying it's a proper community channel. None username. Terrible username. Lost, draw, you're saying. Suvik, you're saying lose against Spurs. Shivan, you're saying win, lose, draw. 3 losses, draw or loss. What up here? Let's go along. Let's see what else you're saying. Jesus, too many comments. 2-2 draw. No, you mean very specific there, Rory. 2-2 draw against Atalanta, 2-0 Spurs, and 4-1 to City. Well, 3 losses, says Richard Daly. DigiPro, you're saying Spurs 2-0 against United, Atalanta 1-0. So a lot of you are expecting some poor performances. A lot of you are not. There's not much expectation of turnarounds. And I'll be honest, given what we've seen, you can't disagree with that. It would be a surprise if there was a turnaround. Given how low we've come, could it get any lower? We didn't think it could get any lower after Leicester. Then the first half against Atalanta happened. The second half was fantastic, but the first half scarred us all. Can it get any lower? Yeah, it can. Liverpool, 5-0. Can it get any lower than that? I don't think it can get any lower than that. I think we're properly we're ground level now. I don't think we can go underground. I think if anything else happens, there's not going to be any anger, I really think, about Manchester United losing any game against Spurs, any game against Atalanta. City might be a bit different depending on what happens and the manner of it. As I said, the manner is just as important as the result right now. But I don't think we can get any lower. So I think if we lose against Spurs, it's just going to be I expected it. I'm not going to get angry about losing to Spurs. There's going to be sort of an apathy, just like more of it. That's kind of what I feel. Let's go up here and see. Look, it's because Rory, you're saying I can't suddenly see the squad regaining trust in Ole and his staff, and I don't think they can. And that's what I'm saying about. That's why it's important about his how he approaches that dressing room, which is now divided, and he's lost the trust of a lot of players. For me, it's whether or not he can get those players to sort of, as I said, Solskjaer can't go into that dressing room and say, look, lads, I know I'm going to get sacked after the next 3 games. So let's just turn it around and do it for me. Please do it. And I think the players would rally behind that. I think they would give him a send-off because he would deserve it. But it's how he manages it. I have no idea how he's going to manage it. I have no idea. But I don't think that I don't think it can really be turned around with trust inside that squad, because I think that's completely lost. Harsh, what you're saying. What's our identity? I think United is now a counter-attacking team, and we should develop around that play style. If we're a counter-attacking, we can take down teams. We've always been a counter-attacking team, but it doesn't mean that we've ignored other aspects of our football. Fergie was brilliant at the counter-attack. Obviously, we have Ronaldo, those counter-attacking goals. Rooney and Ronaldo, one of my favourite ever ones. Woo. But I don't know what our identity is. Our identity right now is a complete joke. And Salim, you're saying, Sam, United way and DNA went away with Fergie. We need to adapt to change and walk away from the past. And that is a very good comment there from Salim, because like yesterday, I'm seeing Fergie and Martin Edwards go into the training ground, and I'm like, mate, what is this? Is this the mid-90s? Why? What? I repeat, and I said it in the video early this season. What got you here won't get you there. Fergie, the genius that he was and genius that he is, will not take us forward. We have to be forward thinking instead of backward thinking. Thinking backwards, looking towards the past as a place for a solution for us going forward, is not going to be the change that we need as a football club. It's gonna help keep us in this treacle that we're stuck in at the moment. And we need to be forward thinking. Klopp's a forward thinking new manager. He helped change Liverpool. Tuchel came into that Chelsea team. He's forward thinking, but that's Chelsea model. Let's not look at the Chelsea model. Man United need to be forward thinking. That's why a manager like Ten Hag appeals to me so much. But whatever comes next, this idea of the United way and the United DNA, the only part of the United way that we all want back is winning titles and winning trophies. Now, of course, we can't lose ourselves completely inside that. That's why I don't want us to become a Chelsea team, a Chelsea business model that's built on being the pride and joy of a Russian oligarch that doesn't really give a shit about anything else. I don't want that for Manchester United. But these sorts of arguments sort of wear thin when we're this far away, and we have been for that long. And it's such a confusing conversation to have. Soham, what are you saying, sir? Regardless of the results in the next 3 games, Ole will leave a squad which is much better than those by Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho. Right now, his treatment by the board is pathetic. Pathetic it is, sir. I completely agree with that comment. I think Solskjaer being used as a human shield is disgraceful and not the respect that he deserves. What should have happened is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Look, we reached a point where we all can agree that it was past the point of no return. So he should have been sacked so he can at least go away with some grace. And instead, we're allowing this public shaming just to continue and continue and continue. And it's going to go on for a week or 2 now, because I think it's going to last until the end of the City game at the very least. And that's 2 more weeks that Solskjaer is going to have to deal with this, have to deal with the questions from the press. It's going to be like a long extended version of Steve Bruce sitting there in the Newcastle job, knowing full well that he's going to be sacked. And I think it's the exact same situation with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer now at Manchester United. I didn't like it when I watched it with Steve Bruce. Felt sorry for him, and he wasn't my manager. Now it's going to happen to Solskjaer. It's going to cut. It's going to really, really cut. Harsh saying, do you agree that we should practice 100 times? Do you agree we should do what we practice 100 times, or what 100 things practice once? My thought is we're not a pressing team. I'm really confused by that. Aish, of course, practice is everything, man. Ronaldo is Ronaldo because he's practiced so much. Nick saying, just imagine Ole starting with McFred on Saturday. Well, all my sympathy for Solskjaer will leave if McFred starts on Saturday. I don't know what's going to happen, man. And I don't really care now, because I know, of course I care. I mean, I'm not going to ever be a person that comes here and say, oh, yeah, want United to lose, mate, for the longer term. Yeah. Fuck off, mate. Get out. I never will that cross my mind. But yeah, I've got a real apathy towards these next 3 games, because I know that winning them will not change anything. Winning them will not change Solskjaer's future. And as I said, Fuck it, I might be proven completely wrong. I don't really think I will be. I do not think I will be. Famous last words, of course. But let me see. And look, Ant, send me a super chat, buddy. Big up, Ant. A very good mod. If you're good in the channel and you get involved in the comments and you're here regularly, you can join the mod gang. And the mod have a separate WhatsApp group, which is a horrendous place to be, but quite fun too. And last season, we were a bit rocky, but we looked a team together heading in the right direction. What changed in the summer and why? Jesus Christ, that's like trying to answer how long a piece of string is. I don't know what happened in the summer to now, to the changes that we've had. And remember, we had a strong start to the season as well, 5-1 against Leeds. I know we drew against Wolves, Southampton away, disappointingly. Then we beat Wolves. We had Newcastle. We had a strong start to the season. And then it just started to unfold when Solskjaer really stuck with the players that he shouldn't. That those patterns that repeated themselves last year repeated themselves this year. And Ronaldo coming in, I know it's Ronaldo, but Ronaldo was a spanner in the works. Ronaldo came in, and whether or not you want to say that United are a pressing team, it was obvious that we were building slightly towards that. But with Ronaldo in, everything that the system we were building towards before didn't really make sense anymore. And therefore, United started jarring. Bruno started pressing incessantly whilst Ronaldo was dropping back, and you had two players doing two different things at the same time. And the coaching became even more difficult. If it was difficult last season, it became more difficult because of Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm just stating a fact. But look, Manchester United, we're shambles of a football club, and we have been for a long time. This situation with Solskjaer over the last 48 hours has only made me double down on that fact. It's painful to watch, and it's my club, and I don't want it to happen, but it has happened, and it is happening. I'll be here later on today with another video. I don't know what time. I don't know what video I'll do yet. If you have any ideas, tweet me at @sampeoples_. Slide into my DMs. It's a good place to be. But look, thank you very much for joining in today. As I always say, and I've repeated it quite a lot, thank you very much for all the engagement. Thank you very much for getting involved in every single live stream. It's been a mad 48 hours. It really has. And now we can actually sit back and sort of assess. But thank you very much for joining in. If you're new here, please consider dropping a like on the video and subscribing to United People's TV and joining Paula. Become a member on the channel, either on Facebook or on YouTube. As always, there's going to be plenty of member-only content coming very, very soon. But thank you very much for joining in today. Solskjaer is going to be here in charge against Spurs. I didn't expect it. Neither did you, but he is. So let's see what goes on next.